kind of make it easier for her.
Good.
Okay, let's go.
All right. Mayor and councilors. So my first tactical plan, which is our most important job out there, is to maintain effluent quality. We do this by daily operations, daily and monthly lab testing, chemicals for filter cleans, manual and physical filter cleans. Like you had brought up on Monday, we did do all 6 basins last year. We're gonna start doing that at the end of March, beginning of April, right after spring break. Once Texas goes back to school, that's when we usually go ahead and drop the basins down and start on them. I did bring up that we did have a good, I was kind of worried about our inspection from the EPA and NMED, but because we have such good records, everything went smooth, so they didn't have any findings, which is awesome, because normally they find something,
Right.
but they didn't have nothing to report, which is awesome.
And when was that? That was like 2 months ago?
It was a few months ago.
Yeah.
It was last year sometime. It took months for them to get back to us. That's why I thought for sure
Well, I thought we were still hanging that they might send us something that they thought of later.
yeah, for the sludge removal, but no, they finally sent back the report and everything was good. No findings, so that was awesome.
Okay, and the violation that we had, I know it went on the TMDLs, was it? It was on the, something, you remember it was,
We did have one on nitrogen when it rained that year, and it diluted
That
out
was
the plant.
last year.
Yeah,
and
last year, or was it the year before?
oh, it was just this last year, because we had to send a letter out, no,
Wasn't it last fall, we're trying to find out if there's any manhole?
It was actually the fall before.
well, no, Adam was sending these guys out, and they finally found the manhole covers down
Yeah,
there.
it's actually the year before last.
No, this is,
One on, Forty's property that was.
That was a
a
spill.
backup.
That was a spill, and that was from excess water coming in from the rain.
but this other was just this year, because we tasked those guys this summer to go find out why we were having so much of a load.
Right,
And then I was asking how much, we were looking at how many people we're having in town, and we didn't really see it there, so we knew that it had to be an influx somewhere.
right.
Because the
But
water
it-
use was the same.
Yep, but it actually had started in 2023 in August from that first rain. And that's when the plant started backing up and we were having really big problems last year in spring. And that's when we started doing the 3 basins. And then we did the other 3 basins in the fall. So it's actually
But
been,
and again, we were looking for a break in the sewer line, I somewhere, and all along it was the manhole covers had been popped, and nobody ever looked at them.
yeah. And we've noticed a big time decrease, which is really great on Adam and Marty's part for finding that for us because it was a problematic,
It was in the down section, but
yeah, it was an issue.
they never did go by and check them out, so our guys did.
That's awesome.
Okay, well, I was just looking because I know we didn't have it, but we did have some sort of violation.
That was the spill in Bordy Williams Field.
Yeah.
And we went out there immediately, cleaned it up.
Also had the manhole was underwater also.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So, like I was saying, we maintain effluent quality 365 days a year, 24/7. The plant never stops running. So, like what I try to tell people when I'm giving, interviews or tours, we don't ever shut down. Or like the downstream users have told us that we can just let solids go to the river. We can't do that.
No,
We always treat the water to the best of our abilities, and it has to go through the filters.
You think they might find that as a violation?
So no, we always add chemical for our nitrogen and phosphorus removal, because you never know when somebody might be sampling downstream, like EPA or NMED. That can happen at any time, without you knowing about it. So you gotta always be on the up and up, and that's our job as an environmentalist, and that's what we get paid to do, so. And I take pride in, sending out the best quality effluent to the downstream users. Especially with a new facility, and not that we didn't with the old facility, but it was old, and that's why we got a new facility. So we try to run it to the best of our ability and maintain it to keep on running to get our life expectancy. So the second strategic plan I have on here is to get the solar installation done. I know we've been waiting years and years to get it done, but I guess it's kind of moving forward.
no, it's moving forward. Christelle, here she goes.
Just received a email
Yeah.
Cool. That's great.
In the last JUB, I was letting you know that the holdup was the fact that the state had to approve the request for qualifications language and then also the categorical exclusion for environmental assessment. We got the approval on the request for qualifications today, and they're promising by the end of this week, we'll have the approval for the categorical exclusions. Then we can move forward with advertising.
So what's the categorical,
Exclusion,
yeah,
when there's an environmental assessment, there's different categories that allow you not to have to redo an environmental assessment. And I think the exclusion will be that we're not gonna have any environmental issues or running into any archaeological
oh, okay.
finds because they're using the same environmental assessment they used for the plant, because we didn't go outside
Footprint's
the
the same,
boundary.
almost.
So
Okay.
that's what they have to approve.
Okay, perfect.
And when we first applied for that, wasn't that to have included the Williams property or not?
Yes.
And so it
that's-
was reorganized without that.
Yeah, we reorganized without that, and that's the other reason, at first, when we were gonna get that additional land, we'd have to have another environmental assessment. Now that that decision has been made to not purchase that land, they're just gonna allow us to use the environmental assessment that we already had in place.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions on that?
And I thought that was a .001.
Now, I think it's .1.
Huh,
Maybe I'm wrong, I could double check for you and let you know.
'cause it was like less than one, way less. It was,
It could be that's incorrect,
Like a .01.
yeah,
.01 or
.01.
.001.
That's what I remember.
Okay.
Okay.
So my next, item is, installation of the new fine screens in the entrance works. We did go out, for the contracting, they came out to the plant and looked at them. There was a little bit of confusion, but I got everybody straightened out. Solder Miller had a few questions, and I got them all filled on any questions that they had, as well as the contractors. These couldn't come, hopefully it gets done sooner than later, but, we're having to start replace sections inside of our existing fine screens that have failed on us. And, they're not cheap, so we're actually waiting for a few panels that are coming in, just to keep them going until we get these installed, which is gonna be sometime this year. Like I said, hopefully sooner than later. Everything just takes so much time. And what I found out as well is they're not gonna be able to put hatches on the roof. It's gonna be a one-time,
Right,
take the metal off, and it was because of the trusses, the way how they were positioned. They didn't wanna mess with the integrity of the building, so they're just gonna basically take the metal off, pull them up with a crane and shift them over to avoid the trusses that are running down and pull them out one by one. And since we have to have two running at all times, they're gonna take out one at a time, get it installed, get it in operation, pull out the next one, get it in operation, and so forth. So we're looking forward to that happening, like I said, sooner than later.
So
It's
you're
been a
gonna
long,
have a sunroof?
yeah, pretty
they'll
much.
put it back.
Yeah, they're gonna put it right
Yeah,
back.
but, so when's this supposed to start again? We're waiting on what?
We have it advertised, and I think the actual advertisement will be closed next week, and we'll choose a contractor, and then hopefully be able to get this. It'd be tight squeeze, but probably won't be able to get it on February council. We can try.
This will go into JUB, so
Oh, yeah, I keep
it's
it.
gonna go to
JUB.
JUB.
Yeah,
We'll,
so-
we'll work it out. If we have to have a special JUB or whatever we need to do.
I think it'll be in time, because the
Yep.
JUB, meeting this month is like in the third week, so I think we'll be good for that, ready to go.
And they won't be, the construction of the units won't be completed till February 19th, and then they'll be shipped out from there.
So that was the timing, we jumped on it to get the RFP, blah, blah, with the finish of the construction, the manufacturing of these, and then, so it should all dovetail together, good.
Yes, sir.
Mayor, Judy sent me an email, 0.01%.
There you go, that's what it was, 0.01.
Thank you, Judy.
There you go, thank you, Judy. And then you're gonna replace the UV, that's
The UV
good.
sterilization, and, the reason why, during the JUB, sometimes I do get questions on E. coli, if we do have higher numbers, and what it is. Our bulbs, our parts are starting to age. That thing was outdated even when it was installed. As we know, like computers and everything else, just new things are coming out. The thing about our system, everything's submerged underwater, fittings, bulbs, and, It's just a place where water can get in and destroy things. The new UV systems are all above water, that they connect above water, so there's nothing that's submerged in water, so it should last and be a lot easier to replace things and hopefully get parts, not having to wait 6 months at a time to get anything in. So hopefully that'll start at the end of this year, possibly, or the beginning of next year. And that was on the master plan. And then, my final, what I would like to do before I retire is to put the last MBR train into service, but they're saying it should be done by 2030, but, like I said, how everything takes a while to get, piping will have to be, it'll add 1 million gallons of treatment into our facility. That way we could take other portions of the plant down to service them. And just to be able to handle the flows of whenever we get people in town, which we're seeing a lot more people coming in and then just staying around. So like I said, it'll add 1 million gallons worth of treatment. All they would have to, it's not gonna be easy, but they're gonna have to pipe in, the diffusers into the pre-aeration basins, put mixers in, put piping, and then we shouldn't have filters to drop in and, put another blower and fire it up. I mean, they'd have to program it. It shouldn't be too bad, but it's gonna be a process. All the holes are there, the concrete's already there. So everything just needs to be retrofitted in and put online.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
How do we pay for that? I mean, is that something that the JUB, okay.
Yeah, with it, yeah, we've got most of it budgeted.
Oh,
and-
okay,
Yes, in the reserves and.
It's also in the master plan, it's one of the items that we
got
replaced.
it, okay.
Yeah.
That's all I have. If you guys have any questions.
So that means Isaac's gonna be here at least till 2030 anyway.
Yeah,
You know, I
He
always
said
say
he
one,
wasn't gonna leave until his.
We have him
ponytail turned
recorded
white.
anyway.
or until he gets that Harley paid off, when it's.
1 to 5 years, that's what I say. And I can be bought. So, thank you guys. You guys have anything else? Thank you so much. What's that?
Yeah,
Is it?
yeah. This is 24.
Yeah, so are we doing water resources or water production? Water production. Endo King.
Good afternoon, Mayor and councilors. Randy Kane, Water Production. Kind of want to go over the org chart real quick.
Okay,
There's going to be one change to it. As of
water production, it's under water resources.
resources, it's kind of combined.
Yeah, it's on the water resource one. There you
So
go.
we have 11 FTEs. We have one current vacancy, and then we're gonna have one more as of February the 10th. Frank Candelaria came and talked to me on Monday and gave his 2 weeks resignation. So it's to actually, he wants to go in business for his own self, and he did pass his exams and stuff. So what I told him is, I'm all for it if somebody is trying to better themselves. So I
So what's he,
hate to,
what kind of business?
I guess he's gonna be doing like plumbing and, you know, like decks and different construction projects.
Well, is he part of the Candelaria family that does that?
I'm not sure. That's a
okay.
good question. I mean, I know he does have a lot of relatives and stuff in. But he, you know, give him credit. He does a really good job at stuff like that. So it's gonna be a loss, but, you know, what I'm doing is I spoke with Chris and Cheryl, and we're gonna get together with Chris and myself after, or sometime this afternoon, kind of go over a game plan. Because we might have to be creative on how we get these two positions filled, because we still have Brent Dietz' position open. We're getting applicants, but they're not applicable. They, you know, I don't need a salesman or, so they're not really applicable to the position.
What are the two positions that, because it'll be Frank.
It's just Frank and
The
Brent
top one
Dietz.
in the
Yeah,
blue to the right of it says vacant.
yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So the only really major change to this is is Frank's position. And it'll be on the 10th. So, of course, you know, we have to we have to try to be creative on how we get these positions filled. The other thing I'm looking at is we're down to 3 level 4s now. So in our water production meeting this morning, I talked to all the operators, and I really put a lot of emphasis on for them to get their certification. We have 2 people that are gonna work on getting the level 3 and the level 4. So I really put encouragement, to get them, get their higher certification, so.
Is that JD?
Yeah, it's JD, and then it's Justin Vorbach.
Uh-huh.
He's eligible for his 3, and then JD is eligible for his 4. Both of them have been real close. They barely miss it,
Well, I heard Ashley said she'd help them out with some of the math.
That's usually what gets them is the math, because there's usually quite a bit. Like on the level 3s, on the wastewater, it was highly involved with math. And
Is there not apps or software that y'all use for that, or do you have to be able to do it the OPM?
sure, I mean, we provided study guides. We even sent JD to the Rural Water Conference, and they had a segment or some classes just with math, for the certification exams. And so, I mean, we've done a lot.
I figured it was on your phone, that you plug in the number.
Yeah, but you can't use your phones. Oh, you mean,
When you're in the field, who's checking?
oh,
I mean, you got to pass the test that way.
That's what, yeah.
yeah. I mean, now, you can't use your phones or calculators or anything, so.
Well, it shows here that JD has a level 4.
No, he has, well, it's for the position. We kind of moved him into the 4 with the agreement that he would get his level 4. So he did, when we first got him, I think he was level 2, and then he was able to get his level 3, and now we're working on him to get his level 4. We have a couple other guys, David Sanchez and then Jeremy Garcia. When they came in, they had no certification. Now they both have a level 2. So we really promote trying to get certification, and that's real big on our plate. Because when we start getting down on level 4s, that's.
Still doing it through ENMU?
ENMU they're working on setting some classes up, and I think you can do them online, but they're still trying to figure out a few things. They're gonna partner up with, Doñana Branch. So they're gonna be able to offer the classes, at ENMU and online. And, I've been in, email with, Terry Mount from, Doñana Branch and, the guy at ENMU. So we're trying to assist them and help them with anything we can.
Okay.
I know they might want us to maybe teach some classes in the future, so that was brought up also. But, so we're doing everything we can to, to get higher, certifications. The nice thing is we created that maintenance tech position, and we were able to bring somebody in with no certification. And then that way we can train them and get them the experience, and then they're eligible for certification. That's kind of helped.
So, during the certification there, are we paying for the certification?
Yes, we are. We pay for the test also, except for, we pay for 2 tries. After that, it's on their dime.
But they signed an agreement, contract.
Because before, it used to be they would take the test 3 or 4 times, and then we'd have to pay for it, and so we made that change. After 2 times, it's on them. So,
And then when we're paying for it, do they have to stay employed by us for a couple of years?
Yeah,
That's what I thought.
if we pay for that. Isn't that right?
not really.
I don't.
No,
the
we don't
only-
have that
the
set
PD
up.
and the fire department are the only ones that
Yeah.
are doing that.
But we've discussed level 3 and level 4 if we're paying for it.
Yeah, we're discussing having the contract
as with
going
the-
into
That's
your higher
something that's-
levels. Part of an incentive that we're talking about
Right.
is having that because, they could get their level 4 and then just,
Oh, yeah.
so we just trying to keep them here, so.
Well, I know employee retention is really big, especially when you get somebody with the knowledge, and it's hard to replace that. You can do it, but it's you take a hit.
And the demand is just across the state.
It is, and, you know, the nice thing about it is you'll always have water and wastewater jobs. You know, you take away water, nothing survives, nothing.
That's what they say,
So why aren't we millionaires?
right?
So, okay,
Randy, do you think that, if I was following your train of thought,
yeah,
for those that you're coaching up,
Yes.
it seems like the stumbling block is the math portion?
correct.
Is there, but, you know, my limited experience with that is that it may be very beneficial to that individual to do a one-on-one with tutoring, just to see where their weaknesses and their strengths are, so
Sure.
that when they walk in there, they're not gonna freeze up.
Well, you know, the other thing there, after they take the exam, it does give them a kind of a breakdown of what areas they failed in. And I mean, it helps out some, you know, it's not gonna tell them exactly what they failed at, but I mean, you know, in the math questions or disinfection or whatever. But a lot of it is, you know, just being able to work it and, you know, in practice. You know, a lot of it is, they give you some information on the test, but you have to be able to work that calculation backwards to get to an unknown, so. And simple stuff like factor labeling helps out a lot, just by keeping your units in place and everything, you know.
And critical thinking, it sounds like.
Yep. So, I mean, that's straight across the board, that's usually what gets everybody is the math, you know, but.
Okay,
1 + 1 is 3? No.
there you go.
Okay, I'll go to my first goal. And this one, since I wrote the update on the 2023, things have changed. This was kind of before the project was starting. And this is a new goal of mine. It's the water tank rehabilitation Phase 1. Keep it in mind, this is set up on a 4-year phase. But based on what we're finding, things could change. Schedules, tanks, you know, we have them all spread out for the 4 years, but that could change. So it's kind of a guideline, and we're trying to work through some of the stuff now. So what they did is DNR came in, we took Grindstone 1 million tank offline, and they cut a big hatch or opening in the tank so they could bring in the equipment. But when they came in, they did a real thorough inspection, what they call a dry inspection. And they were able to identify a lot of big issues. Granted, what we did is we supplied them with all the tank inspections, but the tank inspections only give you so much information. The divers usually have a different idea of what to look for than DNR. DNR is a lot more thorough on their tank inspections. They would prefer to do them in-house because they know exactly what they're gonna be looking for and what they need to fix. So they came in, they did an inspection, and then they sent it to us with a ballpark estimate. So in our meetings, we had a couple meetings with the engineers, Chris, myself, SMA, and Scott from DNR. And we went over a bunch of information, and what I brought up is the possibility of, could they give us a price for a new tank? So what we did is we found out the tank is roughly maybe 60, 70 years old, or maybe a little older. So theoretically, that's already been through its life cycle of 50 years. And it would behoove us to go with a new tank. So they did give us some like ballpark numbers. The quote came in, you know, with a rough estimate of a new tank was $1,056,303. The rebid, if we had to rebid it, because we didn't know if they were set up on CES, but we found out they are, so we don't really have to go the rebid. That was going to come in at $1,264,941, or to rehab it was $943,109. So you do the math on that, it behooves you to do the new tank.
Absolutely.
And the other things that we've got it working, Robert Story and Chris and I and everybody's been talking and emails back and forth. I got a hold of them yesterday. They're gonna try to get an official hard quote from DNR. And then we're looking at a few different things that, do we have to do a new contract or, so we're trying to work out some of the fine details. But some of the additional costs, and they're working on it now, is they're gonna have to do geotech. The tank is gonna have to be demoed, and then they're gonna have to come in and do a new foundation or upgrade the foundation and a new ring.
Kinda
Like we-
like we did.
Kinda, yes,
You're
sir.
right.
Yeah.
And it's probably gonna be a smaller diameter, because what we're trying to do is we're gonna go higher so we can equal the two tanks, the 3 million and the one at the same height, because we had a bunch of different issues. This will solve a lot of problems, and it'll create some savings in the long run with the pumping station or the interconnect. Now, we're not gonna have to repipe it, and that's gonna save a lot of money. So we're working on that. I saw an email from Scott this morning that they're gonna make sure they get the right height. They're gonna design it, and we're gonna try to get it moving as soon as possible. To solve this problem on the other two tanks, we're gonna go ahead and whatever we have to do, we're gonna try to do a dry inspection, meaning that we'd have to take the tank down, empty it, and they get in and do a real good visual. That's probably the best method. The other method is they have a ROV vehicle that goes in and, they can do a inspection that way. It's not as good, but it could work.
Scuba divers.
Well, we did, but granted, some of these reports are 2 to 3, could be 3 years ago, and things change. The other thing is, like I was mentioning earlier, the divers have a different idea of what to look for, but DNR is pretty sharp, and they're pretty strict on what they need to know. That's why they would prefer to do the inspection themselves and having it dry, but that means we'd have to drop the 5 million gallon tank, and then, once they're done, fill it back up, unless it was gonna be, back to back, so.
This is the grindstone.
Yeah, the grindstone's offline right now, and of course, you have to keep it in mind, we dropped 1 million capacity, which is no big deal operational wise, but it could affect the ISO rating, maybe a little. But the other thing is, once we drop the 5 million, and then having the one off, I get nervous.
So
We got 17 million of storage.
Grindstone hadn't started the rehab that was supposed to start on 115.
No, they weren't, what they did is they came in, cut the big hatch, and did the inspection. And then after that, they came in and put a cost associated with the deficient items. And like I said, the three numbers, it's, 943 for the actual rehab, 1.2 and then 1. So we're looking at that, and, of course, we'll keep you guys updated. And
So Randy, what's the timeline of DNR, because they work on the steel tanks, that's what
Oh,
type
yes.
of tank it is. What's their timeline on replacing that tank now?
Well, probably a couple of, I did ask in our conversation that, is there any material issue about getting the materials? And they said, not at all. So that's not an issue. The issue is they do have to put the design together, and DNR can do it, and that'll be inclusive with their price. So we don't have to give that to SMA for engineering with an additional cost. But the other thing is, that plan has to go to NMED, and that's where it could be hung up for a little while. Emily, I think her name is the engineer for the state of New Mexico, or NMED. She has to review the plans and concur with them, and then sign off on them. And then once we get that back, it could probably move fairly quick. We could also, we're talking, we're gonna shift them over to the 5 mil and get that moving, with the inspections and stuff. And then the next one would
I
be.
mean, I don't see how you do that.
What's that?
I don't see how you take the 1 million and the 5 million offline during the same
Oh,
period.
no, I don't want to.
Because it's not, you're not gonna get that 1 million new tank in there before
No,
summer.
we're gonna be down the million. That's why I said, if we take the 5 off and the 1, I'm nervous.
Yeah, we can't do it, so.
And that's what we're fighting. And the other thing I had brought up, Mayor, is I said, they could do the ROV work, and I could even supplement it with a diver from Rubicon, since I'm gonna have them in here anyways to do the Pine Cliff tank. They could assist them, and they could direct them exactly where they need to go, and they could just focus on just the critical.
Do they have
areas.
like a camera or something they're actually looking at?
Oh, yeah.
What they're looking at?
It's all recorded when the diver goes in, the voice is recorded and the visual. And then a lot of times that they see a deficiency, they'll take a picture of it. And then, of course, we get all the dive inspections and.
And then that way they'll have to work off that information, come back to you
No.
with what they want to repair.
Correct.
And
And
we
then that
schedule that
should
next
stop
year.
what we went through on the 1 million. So that's our goal, is not to have this happen again. We'll be one step ahead with that additional inspection before the project starts.
Yep.
So, and I think that's the smart way to do it.
It sounds like it, yeah.
And I've been fighting it because they really want to take the tank down and I don't want to. The only thing is, this is probably the best time to do it. You can't do it when it's in the summer and the peak, because then you're just setting yourself up for failure. But I'm kind of pushing this way, and then I've even said that I'll pay for it out of my budget to bring in the divers and then have them assist you with the ROV. And that, to me, that would capture probably the biggest parts. It might miss some of the little bitty things, but, you want to capture the major items. So that's kind of where we stand on that. And of course, this could change up we might not, instead of 3 tanks, we might only be able to do 1 or 2. We have to do the west, 5 million, and that has to be moving because that's tied in our sanitary survey deficiency from 3 years ago. And I've been in contact, and Joe and I were in concurrence, when we changed up the rotation of the tanks, as long as that one was number 2. So I let them know that
Where's
has
West
to be
at?
done.
Where's West at?
That's the 5 million west tank,
Where?
Alto, the big
Oh.
5 million gallon tanks. That's the next one that's got to be done, so. And, so I've been real good about keeping NMED in the loop on everything.
And that's Savage, I'm still surprised he's still there.
Well, summer might be the end of it. He
Yeah.
had talked about maybe retiring in the summer, so. But it could change.
So I was thinking West, what's the one that's over here in Cedar Creek?
Is that the Town and Country?
No, Town and Country, oh, yeah. It's where that new development's gonna go over there and
Yeah,
there's
it's
that big.
Town and Country, I believe.
Is that one okay?
It's not, it's offline. We had talked about, when Eric was here, about doing maybe a rehab on it and putting it back in line. Of course, it needs all the piping and stuff, and we did have an inspection done on that one years ago. It's not in horrible shape, but of course, that could change now.
It's a pretty small tank, isn't it?
It's not gigantic, it's just kind of tall, But it's never been online since I've been here 10.5 years.
I wonder why we don't have it online.
They,
We're always talking about storage. Oh, here we go.
Adam would know,
History on that.
yeah, so.
So that, at one point, that was to supplement the 5 million gallon tanks. There wasn't enough, demand on it, so the water was going stagnant in it, and then the elevation of it was not right, so it was kind of breaking everything up from Meacham.
Oh, okay.
We can't move it? Like, put it somewhere else? I mean, I don't know, is that a possibility?
That's what happened to the one mill at Grindstone, is they moved it from a spot, so depending on what kind of shape it's in, it's a possibility.
How much money do you have?
Shoot, we got it all, man.
But like I said, it is a possibility, and then, the other tank we have is the one behind the fire station up there, that's out of service.
Oh, yeah, I got a call on that one.
Which one?
Behind Fire Station 1 up on the hill.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and we didn't even know that existed until, Till Karen mentioned it, she saw it when she was driving down Suttereth and saw it behind, and then I kept looking for it and I couldn't find it because I was looking up high, but it's just kind of right behind them.
Do we know why that one's offline?
Same thing, there's not enough elevation there to do anything.
Yeah, because this sits kind of low.
At one point, it fed the bottom part of Sutterth, way, way back in the day, and then, once everything developed, it wasn't feasible.
So they didn't engineer that for the future then?
I mean, depending on what what type of shape the tank's in and, the age, because you got to look at the life cycle, of the tank, and the 50 years is kind of what they go by.
And so we're going metal possibly, or
Yeah,
almost thinking about grindstone instead of fiberglass.
Yeah, on this one, it would be probably cheaper. There's pros and cons about both tanks.
Yeah, well, that's why we went with the fiberglass, because
Yeah,
we
'cause,
were conned into saying it was better, I thought.
It is the life cycle. Through the course of the tank, you do less repairs because it's not metal and it won't corrode, and then you won't have to repaint it and stuff like that. So, yeah, it does cost more up front, but then in the long run, it's cheaper on the maintenance cost. Of course, with the metal tanks, you do have to do the maintenance on it and the coating and the painting and stuff like that, so.
Okay.
But this is gonna be a tough goal. I mean, it's gonna be at least 4 years probably. But it's gonna solve a lot of problems and it's gonna help out with NMED a lot, because when they do the sanitary survey, they look at tank inspections, and that's, when John was on board, that was one of his big things that he looked at. He had to make sure you had all your records with all your tank inspections and everything up to snuff, and we were always real good about it.
John,
Pajaka?
is he not here anymore?
No, he retired.
Did he?
He sure did.
I mean, no, well, good for him.
Tim, I don't forget his last name. He's gonna be our new compliance officer.
So Pajak was just recently?
Yeah, probably in the last 10 months, maybe.
And they're just now getting a new compliance officer?
Well, what they did is they had a couple different people that they were gonna put in place. They talked about a lady from Roswell, and I guess they were going back and forth, and then they finally determined that Tim's gonna take it on. And when I submit my MORs, last month was the first time I included him and Joe, so.
Okay.
Any questions on this? This one's gonna be a, interesting project, but it should be good, but we're trying to minimize the change orders and anything that could really come up.
So is that one of your goals to have completed before you retire?
Well, that's gonna be 4 years, and December's coming up. But like Isaac said, I can be had. No, so.
That's what she said. I'm not cheap, but
I can be had.
can be had.
Goal number 2, this is a continuation of a long-term goal, improving the efficiency of the water treatment facilities. The big thing that really helped us out is the completion of Plant 3. That's been awesome, because we've really kind of put the plant to test, with higher NTUs and higher flows, and it's done well. And then now we have a automatic adjustment on our chemicals, and we do have flocculation, so it does a pretty good job, and kudos to the guys. They've done a great job on running it and optimizing both plants, and I give Terry and all the operators the credit. They've done a really nice job. And it shows, because in the last email that, when I submitted the MOR, Joe Savage said the CFEs is combined filter effluent. He said your numbers are been phenomenal. So that's a true indication that your plants are pretty optimized. We're always looking at it. Terry's always trying to find a better way to run it. We all work pretty well together, and that's one of our biggest goals is to optimize it. We looked at different chemicals. We brought in different polymer you know, through the jar testing, which actually we got better pricing on it. We've done that with chlorine and, you know, it's pretty efficient.
So the CFE, would you say that was?
Combined filter effluent, that's the combination of both, trains when it combines and it goes into, to the, clear well.
Okay,
It's metered and we take that reading, so.
okay, I see now.
And then, all the MOR has all the data and Joe looks through it pretty thoroughly and he's really pleased with us because, you know, I put together it's a operation summary, and then I kind of include everything on the water system. PRVs, the water tanks, any projects, all regulatory compliance. I mean, you know, everything, and I kind of spell it out and give them an update. And then I try to put a lot of focus on the optimization, because that's kind of where they're going with that MOR report. He's said a lot of good things, and he's given us a lot of compliments on it, so.
How big is his area?
God, he covers all the way up to northern New Mexico. He basically, the surface water, administrator or regulator, and he handles all the surface treatment plants. So, and, you know, Vegas, Santa Fe, Ruidoso,
Alamogordo?
yeah.
Wow, I didn't
And
realize.
that's where his office is based out of, is Alamogordo, so.
Okay,
But, you know, it's kind of neat that they recognize us and, you know.
yeah,
all
they
the
used to
good things.
recognize us.
Oh, he was saying, yeah, 10 and a half years ago.
You didn't want to be recognized, huh?
Well, the nice thing he had mentioned is, he said before, they used to bring in the new people to NMED, and they would take them to Ruidoso to show them what not to do.
Oh, God.
But that was a long time ago, and they can't do that anymore because, you know.
We're not that guy.
They might bring it here to say, this is how you do it.
Well, the nice thing is, we're so far out of the radar, and, you know, and that's, you know, trying to do things right. And, you know, I give all the credit to the operators. You know, they make it happen.
I remember we went out there because when I can't remember, it's more than 10 years ago. 'Cause yeah, and, they wanted to meet with a few of us. So the mayor sent me over there with, I'm not sure who it was, I think it was John. And Pachaqua and Savage, that's when I met them.
Yeah.
Boy, they reamed us up one side down the other, so I got, what was his name, Randy,
Camp.
Camp, yeah. And I never met him, but
Oh.
he left before I got on board.
he left a mess, and we went over there and I was looking for their SOP book, Standard Operating Procedure.
Yeah.
They couldn't find it, and it was the table leveler, for one of the tables, and so I climbed down there to get it, and the floor was nasty. I mean, that place was a mess, and so,
And he's, you know, it's changed a lot.
totally. Well, we started changing it right after that.
But you know, the thing is, you really don't know, because if everything's running smooth, then, you know, I kind of refer us to a lift station. I know this is terrible, but nobody really cares about a lift station until it goes down.
Right.
Until it starts backing up. And then it all hits the fan.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
And we're kind of like that. We're behind the scenes. We don't, you know, we're not in the public eye a lot. But if we don't do our stuff, it doesn't, you know.
Well, when you're in the public eye, it ain't good.
You know, the other thing I wanted to mention is that Terry has done a really, really good job on setting up the SCADA. We almost have everything on SCADA now. So that really helps out a lot from avoiding all the violations and stuff, because it'll let us know if something goes wrong, and it'll give us time to get out there and fix it before it's an issue. So kudos to having a good SCADA system.
Terry. What do we ever do? You remember, it was brought to our attention by Cornelius and his son about hacking our.
Oh, yeah.
Did we ever get measures together for more protection?
We had, matter of fact, Terry and I had a conversation with a company that dealt a lot with cybersecurity. And so we're kind of looking at that now because I know that's a big deal. I mean, of course, we've done a lot of stuff to the plants, like all the SCADA system at Plant 3 is pretty tight. And I even have a diagram of, you know, how
Was
it's
it
all.
hardwired, or do you get it on your phone?
Well, we can get into it on our phone, but it's, I don't know, I forgot how they said it. We don't, I don't know, Terry and I don't even really use that app that they set up. What we do is we use the Systems MD where we can connect with our laptop to the computer. That's kind of how we do it instead of the phone. Because that phone app was horrible and it was too small.
But you can't do it totally remote.
Yeah, you can. I mean, we can get in on our laptop and make adjustments and stuff like that. But it is all pretty much set, you know, how it comes in through the SCADA. And I've got it all diagrammed, and I sat down with the programmer and had him explain everything. And so I have that to show people on, you know, it's fairly secure.
How many people have access to that?
It's only Terry, myself, and I think Gabe, 3 or 4.
Yes, I remember having a conversation with a gentleman out, when we went to, plant, Alto, anyway.
Plant
That,
4,
when
R3?
yeah, before you had the open house, and he was showing me all the new SCADA system, this, that, and the other thing, the security measures on it. I just asked him, you know, like say with the, when you have 2 people with the nuclear code,
Yeah.
and each one's got a gun, and they're told that if one goes off the wall, to shoot them. It's essentially, I said, what do you do if, for some reason, one of the people that have the code goes rogue, and how do you shut them out?
Well, the nice thing about it is it logs. Like if I log in and I make a change on something, it'll show my name and it'll say the time that I logged in and I made that change. So we do have that also, but to get back to your question, I mean, shoot them? No, I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, we do have the ability to change, roles, and then, you know, if we need to change somebody, we can, so.
So, but you have that admin power, or?
Oh, yeah,
You're
Terry,
the-
myself, and I think he set Gabe up because Gabe's kind of like the lead operator over there at Plant 3, so. But the nice thing is it does log in and lets you know who's in it and who made a change. Like when I shut down some, I went back and looked, and it did show that I shut the Cherokee well off and then at what time and stuff like that, so.
But we have all security fences,
Oh, yeah.
wellheads capped and locked, and
We've done a pretty good job with all the fencing, and then we even put in fencing around Plant 3, and we put in electronic gates on both Plant 3 and 4 to limit the access, and
okay, we have Plant 3's Grindstone, 4's Alto.
reversed.
3.
Yeah,
Three's
Grind-
Alto,
Alto.
4's Grindstone.
Yeah.
1 doesn't really exist anymore.
Is that Upper Canyon?
Yeah,
And
that's
then
Upper
there's
Canyon.
no number 2.
No number 2, that used to be. Yeah,
Or the what?
Middle Gavilan,
Oh,
Oh,
where
yeah,
the horses, I think, and
yeah.
so. And then the other thing we did is we put in a camera system at both plants. So, and we upgraded the one at Plant 4, and then we've got a new one at Plant 3. So that records, and if you need to go back certain days, you can pull the footage on it, so. We're doing, quite a bit to try to make it secure, so.
yeah, that's good.
And I know the next thing is, cybersecurity is.
Well, we talked about that with Cornelius and those
Oh,
guys
yeah.
from New Mexico Tech.
We had his son,
His son, yeah.
Yeah, smart guy. And then Systems MD has some. But that's what they said. If you have access to a phone where you can do changes, then you're opening yourself up.
Yeah.
You gotta have all these other encryption, so.
Well, the nice thing is we don't really do a lot with our phones, with the 2 plants. We go through Systems MD, or Systems MD, with the Connect. So it's basically I'm connecting to that computer, and that's kind of the way I do it. And it's a lot bigger and a lot better. The other one was real cumbersome, and it was hard to read and hard to make changes, so.
So I guess you got security on then, who could get the app on their phone? Because like the mayor was saying, that if they have on their phone, and I'm assuming that might be the way that.
We might have to look into that, that could be, The other thing is, more on the phone, we can start and stop like wells, but it's just basically control, you can start and stop them but you know.
Well, I thought we had an area that we could start, stop, or whatever we wanted to do.
We
But
do
that
have-
was from your lab, from the building, but that you just got notifications of, hey, something's not working.
Well, the other thing is, I should back up a little bit. We do have an app for Plant 4 that we can operate it and run it, and that one's pretty handy. But supposedly, I think we checked into that it is fairly safe on cybersecurity, but I want to go back and relook at that to make sure. Because I know that was brought up when they installed the app. They had to go through a bunch of stuff to get it on our phone and so. But that one's real handy at Plant 3. We use that quite a bit. I mean, at Plant 4, I'm sorry. So, any other questions on this one? The number 3 is the dam and reservoir improvements for Grindstone and Alto dams. We've done quite a bit. I think after this one that we just completed yesterday, all we're doing is, for the spillway and concrete repairs, that was completed yesterday. What we're doing is we're going back and doing the final walkthrough and if there's any, punch list items. But most of them I addressed yesterday with the contractor and, most of them were done and I checked them when I left. But I told them I would go back and relook at everything again and write down the notes and then let them know if there's any issues. But that one's completed. All the other ones are completed. The vault inspection and 48-inch line sediment removal. So pretty much all the big stuff is done. And that's gonna look a lot better when we have our inspection coming up. The only thing we have is, and I've listed them here, that we're having AECom do. The big one is the new spillway design on Alto Dam, because that's the one that's under designed, and that's one of our biggest flags. So that's going to be the biggest one. The other ones are just a couple of reports and then updating the O&M manuals and then the surveys. So there's only like really 3 big or important items. That should take care of almost everything. So we've worked real hard to try to get these done. I know you're tired of me saying another damn project.
No, I mean, it's all about water, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, these have been issues from years ago and I feel good about saying we're finally coming to completion on a lot of these. And I think he's gonna be pretty impressed. So, and I've kept him updated, before AECom, we're gonna have a meeting with James Head from Dam Safety Bureau, our Office of State Engineers Dam Safety Bureau. So we're gonna make sure we're all on the same page before that starts. And the other thing is, it's all gonna be driven by task orders. And they have to, once we get a task order and a price, then we'll run it by council for approval, so.
Okay.
Any questions on that? The next one is still a continuation. It was labeled, develop Alto and Grindstone interconnects to help meet operational needs. Basically, a lot of this was looked at, when they were doing the water master plan. So a lot of the items, through the water model and stuff was addressed. A lot of the stuff is put into the master plan. And the other thing I wanted to say is we did look at the little D lines and we dug them up and all the valves. And they were all identified. The new pipe, some of the new piping and valves are gonna be in, with the Grindstone tank, or the Gavilan tank. That's included with that project.
Oh, good.
So that should help out, and we'll have a map and, identifying the water lines and everything. That's the other thing, we need to get it to paper to to make sure it's all.
So we're needing more than the 2 interconnects that we have now?
Well, he mentioned a possible other one, but I don't
He
know.
stepped out, but I don't know, where would it be?
I don't know. I don't think it really, put it into the plan. He had talked about it, but, you know, he identified all the pressures where it's low and high, and he did mention that a couple more PRVs will need to be put into place. But, I think we're pretty good on interconnects, you know, so far, and that's really helped us out a lot. You know, having the ability of moving water around is.
Absolutely.
is
Well, I
really
remember when we
important.
got that one over,
Cherokee.
Sutterth and Meacham, and the last one was at Cherokee, wasn't it?
Yep. And the nice thing is we can pull water, you know, through the Grindstone Alto interconnect. We can bring it from the tanks and then fill up, the Grindstone tank, so. That's kind of nice to be able to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
The other thing is when they did that Middle Gavilan project, it was tied into the wrong line. So water production got in there and Terry spearheaded the project and, found out a way to tie it in. So that is all completed and we're actually running the well for, I think this is the 2nd week. And it's actually doing really well. Play on words, but no, so, you know, that's a good thing and it helps us, I think, Ashley, with our water rights. So running that one, so, I'll stand for any questions on this one.
I think we're good.
And I think that's it.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, you know, and I know you were kind of flip with December being maybe your retirement date, but this is a really important position. Do we have a succession going?
Well, I'm working with, in our succession planning with Terry, but we talked about it today and, you know, I had mentioned that I won't leave the village hanging. If there's big problems or things that need to be completed in December, or if I need to stay on, I would. I would not leave you guys hanging, so. When I leave, I want to make sure everything's, you know, most of the big
How long's
projects.
Terry been around?
Is it 6 years?
Oh,
7?
he's that young?
7, I think, yeah. He
Yeah,
came
they're-
over from the Downs.
Okay, but he's still getting close to retirement.
No, he still has a way to go. I think
Terry got hair like me, Terry?
8 to 10 years somewhere.
He got white hair like me, right here?
Not yet, but he might.
Uh,
See, I
There
don't
was
even have gray hair.
another Terry,
except
though,
for-
that retired. Wasn't his name Terry?
Well,
That
Terry was
retired
in
last
solid
year?
waste. And this Terry's been your right hand
Yeah,
guy.
he's done a really, really good job, and he's pretty sharp and he catches up on things. The other thing is, you know, Chris and I had talked about, she says I need to work with them, bringing them into the meetings more and stuff like that. We were gonna try to have them in here today, but they're working on, North Fork 4 that they're pulling today, Chance Coates, so. But I'm gonna
Where's
try
North
to,
Fork 4? Is it up about,
it's on 127A, and if you go all the way down, it's the first well on the right-hand side before you hit the gate. It's 1, 3, or it's 4, 3, and then 1.
Yep.
The 1 is the closest one to the actual gate. So
okay.
they're pulling that one today, and hopefully we'll get that one back online. And the other thing we're doing also is we're trying to rotate wells and to make sure we keep a better eye on them. And so we're working with Roger Perry also.
Our levels aren't looking really good, so.
Yeah, and we have that set up, we've got almost all transducers in most of the wells now. So we can actually, like Greenwell, I've got it pulled up where it's pumping like 262 gallons and 100 feet over the transducer. So we do keep an eye on that to make sure it doesn't, go below. The last thing I wanted to mention is, we did meet on Brownwell on Monday. So we met with, Randy Stewart, the owner of Stewart Brothers, and his right-hand man, Mike.
Stewart Brothers.
They're out of Grants, New Mexico.
Okay,
They are the ones that did the wells, which one? It's the Brown Well and the Gavel?
Faultwell?
Oh, well, yeah.
Okay,
And then we had an issue with low production on 4, so, Mosen and Corbin had Raul out there, and then Charlie from General Hydronics, and Terry and myself. So the ball is rolling now, and a lot of emails are going, and they're trying to, they might come back in and pull it. They're saying that the pump is probably not working right. And at first they thought maybe it was undersized, but it's not. So that one's moving, and we're trying to get that all completed before the warranty period, so.
We're doing our best, the best that we can to make sure that anything that comes up, we check and make sure that the warranty
Yep.
hasn't expired, and we want to take a look at all the most recent projects and make sure that there's nothing outstanding before that happens. I know, sometimes they drag their, not these guys, but, Molson and Corbin and Stewart Brothers, we've been trying to deal with this issue since December too. So we're trying to keep on top of that, so we don't end up having to pay for something that we shouldn't have to.
And I kind of was trying to help Ashley out about taking the lead on, writing, sending emails to Casey and trying to get the ball rolling. So I sent one out last Friday. Well, I sent one out before the holidays, and he replied, probably not going to see any action until after the holidays. So I did a follow-up last Friday, and then the ball started rolling. He sent out an email right away, and things started moving. And they had it set up for Monday, and we all met on site. So I feel good with that. Of course, it's going to be whose fault it is and who's going to pay for it, so,
As long as it's not us.
yeah. So
that's what everybody says.
I just wanted to mention that we're keeping an eye on that one also.
Okay,
Thanks, Randy.
Who's the engineer on the job from Mosen?
Corbin.
But who's the
Casey
lead?
Cook?
Okay, so just let me know.
Yeah.
He's pretty responsive.
Yeah, he replies pretty quick, Ron.
well, that's a new trend.
Yeah. Well, I guess
But does he do what he says he's gonna do?
so far, I mean, he's,
Well, it's just the lip service. As long as we don't get the lip service, and we'll make sure we'll contact them
well, I'll tell you
directly.
what, from the email that went out on Friday to Monday, that's impressive that everybody met on site. And the one thing Randy Stewart, what's it, right, Stewart.
Yes.
Because I know a couple of Randys, and I always want to say Randy Wright, but he's willing to send out a crew, like right away, to pull it and run tests on it and look at the pump. The motor end was burnt out in the first phase when we started running it, but it wasn't the pump. So they did replace the motor but not the pump. He's kind of saying that he thought it was being run outside of the curve, that's why it burned up, but that's not the case.
Too much?
Yeah, it wasn't,
That you were running it too hard?
yeah, but we have graphs and stuff that shows the level and all kinds of stuff, so Terry sent that to Casey last night, so.
Well, as long as he's, that was got to be the problem, is that we would get a lot of talking, but no action.
Well, Stewart Brothers, they're making a commitment, they said, he's got a crew ready, he'll send them out to pull it.
Well, that's awesome.
So I feel pretty good about it now, I'm gonna try to stay on top of it, and, Terry's helping tremendously on that, so.
All right, well, thank you very much, Randy. It
Yeah,
looks good.
thanks a lot,
Thanks, Randy.
All right, Armio, it's you.
Ashley.
Ashley and I, we're
Okay.
gonna,
And back up, big boy in the corner.
oh, yeah. He's our partner in crime.
He's the floater.
Now, talking about succession planning, like Randy said, I've tried to encourage him and Isaac to start getting the folks in here to start attending meetings and be involved so that they know that what the job entails. They may or may not want to do this kind of a job where it's more administrative versus technical. So
Yeah.
I think the sooner they figure that out, the better. And also doing that in my house, I've got 4.5 to 5 years to go. I could stay longer, but if not, I'm trying to make sure Ashley's up to date and learning, so we're gonna do the presentation together on this.
Okay.
Well, like we were talking, we've been trying, when I walked into the position, I was a little bit overwhelmed, not knowing what was going on. Eric, it was difficult to fill those big shoes. He had a lot going on, but luckily I've been relying a lot on the staff that I have, and they're really helpful, and they've been good and encouraging, and I've learned a lot. And when I first walked in, I could never understand why there was, like a disconnect between water resource and water distribution. So luckily, Adam was willing to work with me, and we've been trying to partner more on projects so that we can find ways to utilize the funding in the best manner possible, and not just, you know, he has his projects, I have mine, let's find a way to get them to put together and make sure that his department also has the money that he needs to operate. So he's been helpful, and he helps us with some of the tough conversations with some of the people who don't want to participate. So I think on the first one is Ashley's.
So for this one is to implement an asset management program. I know we've been talking about asset management a lot during this planning process. And so this is just a continuation from whenever we met with NMED to help us originally build our asset management plan. This is a continuation on that. And one of the requirements for a water trust board is to actually update our asset management plan every year. And so we are making sure that's in our schedule to go through it, update it, and reflect what's actually currently out there. And that way it does not stay out of date. And so some of the stuff that we're doing is, or continuing to do, is putting in water and sewer as-built. And so we make all the contractors to, they have to submit GIS as-built to us. And so what I've done in the past and what I'm currently training Jackie on doing right now is to go out there and GPS those when those as-built come in. And that way we can verify. We'll just pick a couple at random, make sure everything lines up, and then we can upload those, and we'll actually close out a project at that point. And we make sure that we get life cycle in there, try to get replacement costs and any of the stuff for like fire hydrants. I know there's certain things they need for the ISO, and so we'll make sure that stuff gets put in as well.
Okay.
So the asset management program is wells and.
Valves
It-
and
eh,
locations and
Oh,
All of our water
knowing where it's all
lines.
at.
yeah,
That's
okay.
why I was joking the other night when I said used to your authority came because you knew where all the valves were buried and all that other stuff, and now
Yeah.
we're getting them all
Yeah,
located so that people can find them.
okay.
Yeah, so that's something that we're making progress on. And we're also, one of the goals for Chris and I is to get better enforce the CityWorks software on the asset management side. There's kind of been a little bit of a disconnect of employees using it and certain departments using it. So we want to kind of sit down with each department, make sure they can log in, see what they're see what they want to change and how we can actually go ahead and change this to make it better suited for them. What type of reports would they like to see and how we can fix them.
Sure.
And then
Do they know what kind of reports they need?
some directors have come to me about mainly for like the manager's report. They want to see a breakdown of, we'll take forestry, for example, how many compliance inspections were done, or for distribution, how many main leaks.
So
did we
that's in
repair.
CityWorks, not in, what's the other one we use? It's my blank.
Laserfish.
Ion Water or
No, the other.
Encode?
Encode.
No, this is a separate software.
Yeah, but it's, Encode doesn't do that too?
That has just the.
That's who we
Mayor
used to
Council-
get all the stuff on the inspections and all that stuff on code enforcement and all that.
Yes.
through. And so now then it's through CityWorks?
Yeah, and what's kind of nice about this is they can go out there and they'll select the asset in the field. They can do all the maintenance stuff. We can assign costs to it, and at the end, they can run a report and see how much it actually costs to fix this internally. And are we wasting money having to go out there and keep fixing it? Is it just time to replace it? And then the other thing, going back into asset management, is the Laserfish filing. We have a pretty good system within the Water Resource Department on how to file our easements or our property files as soon as we find them. Any inspections, Randy will send them to me, so we're getting those filed in. And so Jackie just went through a rigorous training through Laserfish. And so she's caught up on how to also file, so it's not just me filing everything away. So that's,
So you let us use one of her Laserfish certificates, whatever you call it, scholarships. Who uses it? Where do we?
She's from the PD, the records clerk.
Yeah, thank you for that. It's-
yeah, it's a great program. I went through it. The training that they do is really good. They test you after every single thing to make sure you understand. It's a two-part exam, and it's very comprehensive. So that's it for the asset management, if you guys have any questions.
The next goal for the Water Resource Department is to develop a watershed-based plan compliant with EPA standards. We applied for funding through the Clean Water State Revolving Fund. They provided us a grant for $250,000, and then our match is $100,000. So we've received that funding, and we've put together our work plan. We are working with the Vena Crossley, and before we can move forward with actually advertising for a contractor to complete that, we need to write a quality assurance project plan. And that's something that EPA requires for all types of projects that they're funding. So Ashley is going to take the lead on that, writing that quality assurance project plan, since it's something new. And once we have that watershed-based plan approved, then we can start applying for Section 319 funding from the Clean Water Act. And that'll be funding through EPA, and that'll allow us to address a lot more issues than we want to address that we haven't had the funding for. So that's kind of a prerequisite to be able to apply for those funds. So our next step is to get that quality assurance project plan in place, and once that is approved, then we can move forward with finding a contractor to do the work.
So the grant that we got, it's a little over 2 to 1. Is that what it is on the match?
Yes.
So I can't imagine there's a lot of people that jump on those.
No, and like Eric in the past had kind of leveraged funds, so he had put, the 350 away in SGRT in anticipation, so 250 of it now is going to be grant funded, so that leaves 250,000 for us to utilize for a different kind of grant. So he kind of and he taught me that methodology, that if he saw a project coming, we'd kind of put the money away for the entire project. And then when the grant funding came in, that allowed us to free up some funds, and we already had the match set aside.
Yeah.
So the match is usually coming out of SGRT.
Okay. Very good.
And then as another project that we're going to be working on is to develop a drainage master plan. We got another grant for that, and that was another $350,000 with the same breakdown, $250,000 in grant, $100,000 in match, and that is also funded through the New Mexico Environment Department. So we haven't gotten started on that yet. We just got the funding finalized, so we need to start putting a plan together. We're going to get a contractor to assist us with that, but that's another thing that'll help us to kind of.
What does that look like? I mean.
It kind of looks at the different ways that we're going to manage stormwater and those type of different, our drainage and how we deal with, the rain that comes in, and if it's, in short bursts, just how we're going to start managing that. We really don't have a
We've made a
plan.
lot of progress, but I know there needs to be more in Midtown,
Yeah,
where they got thinned all that acreage, and then we got flooded, and then it's the pine needles, and making sure cars aren't parked in front of the drainage, and
it'll help us to identify different mitigation measures that we could possibly put in place and utilize that as a roadmap for future projects.
So does this particular plan, does that also include like looking at parking lots and such? Because I know that Eric gave talks and presentations on, say if a parking lot went in, if a parking lot or an existing, slowing the water down and so on, redirecting. Is that part of this plan?
I think it's also, it's looking at our codes and trying to see if there's something that we need to change in the codes to help mitigate some of the issues that we have. But it's going to be pretty comprehensive, looking at everything within the village and seeing what we can put into place.
And Mayor and Council, this will actually, just as Christella mentioned, if planning happens, or when it happens for new development, all of these items will go in to help assess any of those developments during plan review, all of those items, as well as possibly make changes to future code so that people can be in compliance with what needs to happen with drainage as well.
So,
It will impact planning and zoning.
And that was, this was previous, but I would add, community development is one of the parties that will be involved in that as
Yeah.
well. And, there is a stakeholder process that's gonna be involved in both plans, that's required by the Environmental Protection Agency, so we will get some feedback from the community as well before we move forward.
So our next one is to diversify our water source assets. So we're gonna look at how we can really prove up on our water rights within the Eagle Creek area. Kind of try to start directing more towards that Eagle Creek, well field. And so in order to do this, we're also gonna be looking at, rehabilitating both of our diversion structures, along Eagle Creek and the Rio Ruidoso. So, the Eagle Creek, we still need to engineer. We're kind of waiting to see how the Rio Ruidoso is going to play out with this new Kiwanda screen that we'll be putting in this year, and we're gonna kind of see how we like it. If we enjoy how it works and everything's working properly, we're gonna, try to start moving forward with a similar type structure over at Eagle Creek.
So it would be in, the diversion would be in the little creek coming down?
So, right on that Forest Service boundary, so, there's Greenwell, and then you take that dirt road.
Yep.
It'll be right back there, if we do it along Eagle Creek.
Oh, I see, okay. So it's
Because
up.
right now, it's just, like 4 or 5 different pipes with slits in it. So
Okay.
we're gonna look at seeing if there's a more efficient way, that way, also, the guys aren't always out there after every rainstorm or just trying to clean it out. They're out there quite a bit.
Yeah, because is that a diversion right there
That is a
anyway?
diversion.
Oh, I didn't realize that was a diversion.
Yeah, so if you went out there and looked at it, again, you'll see the 5 pipes, and then you'll see like
Yes.
these little slit structures, and that's actually a diversion.
Well, I remember Eric, we stopped there and, but I was brand new
So that's the Upper
then,
Eagle
so.
Creek diversion.
Okay, oh, that's a
So we'll
diversion.
be,
And so where does it divert to?
it goes all the way down to the Desander. And then so it's a big concrete pad.
Yep,
And then from there, it goes into that commingled line all the way over to the water treatment plant.
I'll be darned, okay, got it.
So we're gonna look at possibly doing that in the future. That's still years away, but just kind of seeing again how the Upper Canyon surface diversion works out. And then we're very close to finishing up 3 and 4. Roper was out there this week, finished up the electrical components. So he's going to get his subcontractor to go start testing everything. And that project should hopefully be done just in time for the weather to warm up and people can start walking back there.
The other diversion on the Rio Ruidoso, that's going to be this fall?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need one of the requirements for the Army Corps and for NMED Surface Water Quality Bureau is we have to do this during low flow. And so we're gonna need to wait till the end of monsoon
Sure.
season.
Okay. It's too bad we couldn't do it now. It's low
Yeah.
flow.
Well, and what's nice is we're actually setting up, right now, so we're getting ready to do river restoration work over at Water Treatment Plant 1. And that'll let us, rehabilitate the area that the USGS gauge is gonna be going on. And so we'll actually be able to use that gauge to help with our diversion, from 2 rivers, because Upper Canyon will be down, so we can continue to divert if we're meeting flow requirements.
Nice, okay.
So we're not gonna have a lapse.
Ashley's done a really good job of trying to schedule this out so it made sense and one thing has to be done before the other. And then there was also a delay in finalizing the funds for the Upper Canyon surface diversion. We just got that final paperwork about a week and a half ago.
Oh, my goodness, okay.
And, so is there any questions about the water? And then the final one is to prepare the utility for emergencies. So back in, let's see, what year was that? Back in 2020, we began the process of the risk and resiliency assessment of the utilities. According to the EPA, we have to update this every 5 years. And so we are starting to come upon that 5-year mark. We did submit it in 2021. And so I know it's still a couple years off, but it took a couple years to even work on it to begin with. And so we started the discussions with Eric Queller already, and we're gonna start working on reevaluating everything, getting input from all the departments, start using the tools that the EPA wants us to use so we can update our plan. One of this component is about the cybersecurity, so that was brought up. We will be reevaluating the cybersecurity component as well and making sure we are secure from any potential threats.
And the final goal for us, and it's very important to us, is to update the water conservation plan. I think we've been at level 5 restrictions for a while, and I don't know that that's going to change, but we want to update our conservation plan. We want to really start putting measures into place and have different triggers. We've been working with Roger Perry, and he has done the legwork and the modeling that we need to identify the new triggers, but we also want to include measures about, that we can do internally within the village to start conserving water, so it doesn't look like the onus is always on the citizens, that it's also gonna be done internally as well. So we're gonna work on updating that plan and come up with some different conservation measures that we can implement.
So one thing, just going back historical, even so much before my time, but we have come so far, right? I mean, in the, not only the production, but the usage, the seepage, the loss, all that stuff. I mean, does that exist somewhere that if somebody's like, well, you guys aren't doing anything, go, hey, look, we could show you data from, this year to this year. Does that exist?
We have to submit every year to the state a water conservation report, and that includes all of our water loss. So we use the AWWA software, and we also use the New Mexico GPCD calculator to calculate our water loss and how much water we're using. And it even breaks it down to like residential, commercial, industrial. So we do break it out, and we can actually see where everybody's at, even fire hydrant usage, and
Right.
we get estimated usage of how much they needed to use to fight fires as well. So.
Cool.
And then we have Mayor will be right in here, but we had a question from Counselor Salas on this one. And the mayor, just on the triggers, that the triggers don't align with what we have, so something about, I think at one time we were trying to do the water phase, like the emergency level, and the triggers. Mayor, they're at the point on that question from Rifle about the triggers.
Yeah.
On the water conservation, is that they don't align is what we have, and that's something that we brought up before, that we need to align those.
And that's what we've been working with Roger on. And then, going hand in hand with this water conservation plan is we're gonna work with Eric Queller to develop a drought mitigation plan. So that'll also identify different triggers within the village that the council may want to adopt, given certain water levels within the Grindstone Lake, or where we think we're gonna be in our drought situation, because right now we're within the severe to extreme drought situation in our area. So we're hoping to see if that's gonna be updated with a little bit of what rain that we've gotten, but that's where they don't see much improvement coming, so we need to start looking at that and start really keeping it in the forefront. And so that's what Eric and Ashley and I are gonna start working on. How do we start looking at that?
And
plan?
Ashley's aware on the, when you use the bypass, the Anaconda line, we had to stay in that level, what was it, the level 5 emergency?
Yeah,
In
that
order
was
to-
for emergency authorization.
In order to keep that line in place, just in case, so that was one of the state engineers, Scott Verheims at the time, was we needed to remain in that level in order to use that bypass.
Yeah, and so that's, one of the things that we'll be using is, when the Upper Canyon Surface Diversion goes down, we'll be using that Anaconda line. And then we'll still have the flow restrictions put onto us, that 4 and 6 CFS, depending on the time of year, that the river's running. But that's where it's based off of the water treatment plant 1 USGS gauge versus the Hollywood gauge. And so you'll start seeing probably whenever we move into that construction phase, you'll see, Randy not reporting so much on the Hollywood gauge amount because that's not gonna be relevant to us at that point. It's all gonna be off of that that water treatment plant 1 gauge.
When that Anaconda line was first put in, Adam over here lived over there at the Two Rivers Park, or at there by the chamber, because he had to fill the generator up in order to move that water. So remember that, Adam?
That was a mess.
Oh, yeah. And then we finally were able to replace it with a electric one. Poor, over at the chamber, Becky Brooks, she'd call me and I said, Becky, I can't hear you. That's why I'm calling. We can't hear anything. That thing was on 24/7.
Yeah, it was. A lot of diesel went through there.
Oh, man. So.
So we're gonna get that question answered for Rifle, and all of us, yeah.
And I know I didn't get a chance to put this goal in because I had already submitted this prior to this coming up. We're an enterprise fund, so we need to find ways to ensure that we're receiving the revenue that we should be getting. I mean, and so I've been trying to doing some research, and we're working with utility billing to try and identify ways to work together so that we can ensure that, what's being billed is what is correct versus, what we think it should be. Is it actually being billed that way? So we're working with Adam. Ashley and I are also looking at Ion Water on a daily basis to keep track and make sure that we're staying we try and help Adam's group identify leaks, and he helps us on the other side. But I was looking at and trying to brainstorm, how can we provide that kind of assistance to utility billing, given that they've got so much on their plate right now. They've got, they're both learning, they've got to deal with customers coming in and out. So I'm trying to think of a way to maybe look at a new position that will help to be a liaison between utility billing and the water department, so that if there's some there's some service that comes into play or somebody's disconnected, we're making sure that there's some continuity there, and also being able to verify the revenue side of things. Because I know that, speaking with Judy, she said that, utility billing does the billing, but you need to have that separation where somebody's actually verifying the revenue. So I don't know with what we have in place if that's going to be possible, but I'm just trying to brainstorm. So that's, if I could add a new goal, it would probably be to start identifying ways to help utility billing and track revenue, so that we're making sure that we're actually receiving the funds that we should, because there's been a couple of instances where we have water billing that hasn't gone out, and it was just identified just by chance. So we just need to make sure somebody's watching.
So could I ask a question on that? Because you were saying that Judy said that the billing should be separated from it's actually who handles what's coming in and accounting for it. That was the same way it was with the payroll at one point in time. And that was also with the auditor. He didn't say that was a finding, but his suggestion was that we move the payroll from HR.
Yeah.
Back to finance or into finance.
It's just like a separation of duties, just like, there's two sets of eyes, not just one set. And because if you're used to doing it all the time, you don't always identify those issues that come up. And then just being able to be a liaison for water distribution too, when they have people that come in and have questions, just a way to start helping in that area. I don't know if it's a possibility, but I just want to explore what we can do to make it a little bit more efficient.
So how much workload does that put on finance?
Well, finance does, I don't know, that's why I'm trying to make it a separate position that is more on the utility, on our side of things, on the water side of things. There would be somebody would kind of be a liaison between water billing and water resource.
So you would basically do a review and then hand it over, kind of put your stamp on it, then hand it over?
Yeah, and just compare what our consumption side of things are versus what's being billed.
And Mayor and Council, with that being said, with the clerk's office helping with the lien process, in order to get to the point of filing the lien, we have to show documentation that the 10-day letter, 30-day letter and such has been mailed out. So that there too is going to be a second check of trying to get that money to come in that is owed. Now, whether or not it's billed properly, whatever, but what I'm saying is that by fine tuning the lien process like we've been working on is also to another way of,
I didn't think we really had a lien issue in the water department because we cut the water off, they come pay it to get it turned back on. I know some of the issues we had in the past, I thought we had rectified with renters moving out, and then the renters are the one that come in, it's their credit, and then they leave a big bill, and then we hit the property owner up. Remember Coughlin used to go on about that? And
'Cause
we fixed that, I thought.
Because we, Mayor, Council, if somebody's renting, the property owner also receives the bill. There's been some instances where somebody will move in, they'll move out and move in, they won't say anything, and then the bill should be, at that point, paid for by the owner of the property. It's just some more, like Christella was saying, some more auditing, just having that auditing piece also with the counts and all.
Does that happen a lot, like what they're talking about? Right,
As far as what he's saying,
yes, the renters coming in and not
I'm
paying
not
the bills.
familiar with that. I'm not too familiar with the lien process. I do know that, if someone hasn't paid within 30 days, a delinquent notice goes out and there's late fees.
They cut it off. I get calls all the time.
Judy.
Mayor, councilors, so the issue is not putting the lien on it, it's about what happens after the lien. Because we found out, and I think it was like 2 years ago, that a lien is only good for 3 years.
Yeah, we weren't,
So if we don't foreclose on it or anything, and if they don't show any payment because there's no service at the property, they're not there, sometimes people don't pay. And so after 3 years, what do you do? So a lot of our liens have been on the property for years, and from what I understand, you can't re-lien it after 3 years.
No, our
You have
process-
only that 3 years.
Now,
and
our
we weren't
process
doing
now
anything.
is put a lien and then start foreclosing.
Exactly, yes.
So,
So that's kind of the issue.
I kind of made the suggestion a while back, and I'll throw it back out again. I don't know if it's possible, but as long as the property is listed at the clerk's office as somebody owns this house, just say Susan Letterman owns this house. So the bill goes to her. She's listed as the property owner. No matter whether she leases it out or has a renter rent it, she gets the bill, she reimburses. That way, she gets reimbursed. It's her responsibility to get reimbursed because she's the one renting it, not us. So why can't we just leave it in whomever owns the property's name and bill them every month?
Counselor, Mayor, some properties are like that. I don't know if you remember about 3 or 4 years ago, we found out that Encode could do like a landlord and a renter account to where if the renter had the utilities in their own name, the landlord would still get a copy of a bill because that's what was happening. You were the renter, and you weren't paying your bill, and then you would leave because you would stop paying the rent on the property, and then you would skedaddle, and then poor Mr. Eby didn't know that you were behind 4 months of.
well, see, that's another problem I've always had. How in the hell they get 4 months behind?
So what happens is, by the time they get through, I think it's almost 2 months before they get the shut off. So then they'll pay, and then that brings them back into current, and then they get back again. So it's just kind of a revolving.
I think the way it worked on me, never, and I brought it up several times, because we used to have 3 or 4 different ones, and I would get confused on the bill sometime. There'd be a door hanger after we just mailed off all the checks, I thought, and they had applied 2 to 1, 2 different accounts to 1 account, and then left this other one out here hanging. Nobody looked over there and said, well, I wonder why this one's got prepaid. and this one's behind, you know, and then they cut me off. They did that, and it was no 2 damn months, I guarantee you. And I know people right now that call me, and we have to run interference, they get a note, and they said, I mailed the check last week, and we've had people calling us about the post office. So I've asked them, and then they want to go on pay, but you have to pay with a credit card?
You can go online at any point and pay with a credit card,
You got to pay with a credit card.
Or it can be a monthly
or you
withdrawal
can do a
from your checking
monthly bank
account.
draft.
And then we have some that Judy's worked with and put them on a payment
And we'll
plan.
put them on a payment
And
plan.
then some that don't pay.
And then some that pay and some that don't, but, it's getting a lot better. We try to make as many options to the customers, pay online, auto draft, come in, drop
But see, I
off.
still never understand. It's happened to me on every property that if I ever got behind, I got a door hanger, we're cutting you off next Tuesday.
And we do shut offs
And then we find out people that owe $2,000. And then we find out there's been a special deal made, you know, that I know that Toya or somebody had made a couple that we're finding out about. So we need to make sure that we don't have that issue going on. You know, I don't mind working out a deal, but, you know, it needs to be not a one-off.
And some of them have had leaks that were on their side, and so they didn't get the leak credit. And so sometimes they have a big bill.
And then if they get fixed and they produce a bill and this, that, and the other, then we work with them. And then we've had others that they didn't get a plumber, they did it themselves. You know, they dug up their line, they replaced their own line, all of this other stuff, and we don't give them anything.
Right. And all the leak adjustments go through Adam before we even give them a leaker credit. And they're only allowed one a year.
Our next door neighbors left, they sold the house, they left, but didn't give the Village of Ruidoso a forwarding address. Their house sold in a day, but it took a month or so. And so, then the new owners come up, they're from Arkansas, they come up and no water. And so, I think they're the ones that paid for the water bill. The new owners paid they
past
come
due?
down, and
Because we didn't know it sold.
exactly. And the new owners didn't give, I mean, the old owners didn't give the Village of Ruidoso.
That's another problem we've been finding is, you know, property sells and there's a disconnect of, they're not coming in to say, one, that they sold it, and two, who's,
The new owner.
Who did they sell it to? So who's actually getting this water bill? And so, we've been finding those properties showing up.
So did somebody mention that they're meeting with the realtors here? Was that yesterday? Somebody?
Oh, that was yesterday where I talked to Leon before, but we need to get with Gavin or whoever's in charge over there now. And we were going to talk about this also goes with forest ordinance compliance defensible space, that they're out of it. And then they get a letter after you just buy it to say you need to get it in compliance and here's gonna, you know, your estimates are $4,000. And then they're going back and trying to sue the seller.
I've met with the Board of Realtors. We actually had a meeting with them about a month ago over the lawsuits of people saying they're hooked up to sewer and they're not.
Yep.
And it seems like it's gotten worse after I met with them. The people that were in that meeting are calling me saying, well, the homeowner told me they were hooked up. And I'm like, well, show me the paperwork. It didn't come from my office. You know, I don't know. I brought up the water bills in that meeting. I brought up the sewer availabilities in that meeting. And I don't know what else to do with them.
But the bill, if they're getting water, but they're on septic, it's a different price. And then, because I've had them say, I'm on sewer, and then at the property, and Tracy's doing her research, and we call, and they're like, no. And they're like, I'm on sewer because I've never, ever pumped it. And we lived here 25 years. It's
Guess we're-
because you're leaking.
It's going somewhere.
There was, you know, before Ashley started doing the sewer audit, there was a lot of people that were not being good, and they were on sewer. So that's some of the stuff we're finding out too, and, you know, with the turnover up front, you know, these girls are learning, they're, you know, it kind of got left, and now they're trying to catch up and put, you know, these bills together. So it's a learning process for them, and it's a catch-up process for us.
Yeah.
What are we, about 60% on septic tanks?
I
No.
audited about 50%, but we have not done Upper Canyon yet, so that's where our concentration is.
So you're saying we're half, over half still on septic?
No, on septic, I'd say we're about 35% of people are on septic.
Yeah,
At
so
all?
we
That are on the
have-
village water?
Yeah, village water.
There's still 35% that are not on.
And
A lot of
Jackie
grindstone.
did start back up that audit process again for the sewer audit, so, she's going through currently auditing all the properties right now. We'll start back up on these letters and getting people back onto sewer.
Yeah.
The parts of town that did not get audited are like Town and Country, the top parts of Town and Country, because we know there's not sewer there. Pine Cliff, we know there's sewer not there, but, so those are the pieces that are not audited, but Upper Canyon is the other big piece, and we had to wait till we figured out what we're gonna do with the sewer line before we audited that piece.
Well, we have a good count up there, don't we?
We got a decent count, but we're gonna go through and actually do a visual and do dye tests, whatever we have to do like we did the last time, to make sure that we know for sure that people are. I mean, there's a house that had a clean out, 2 cleanouts right in front of the porch. And they came in and says, you guys cut a line. I said, oh, how come it's coming out on the other side of your house then? So we dug it, they had a leach, like a leach line there.
Going straight for the
And
river.
it's on the other side of their house. It was stubbed out, just never.
Just didn't know.
It was a dummy line.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else? No. All right, well, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys,
No,
for
thank you very
hanging out
much.
for
Yes.
2 days.
Yeah, thank you.
And you got lots of, so when's budgeting?
That was my question.
April?
That's what I'm starting right now, is projections, so we'll probably have it start the kickoff, March 1st, and then we'll probably have the first meeting in April.
So,
End of May, end of March, 1st of April, because we usually take it to council the first in May. The first meeting in May.
so, Judy, I know it might be a little bit more work, but going through this process here, it's almost every single department is asking for, like your capital improvement, monies and also raises. So it might help, I don't know if it helped you guys out, but it would help, if I'm still here, out to have a long sheet that's got the different departments and the monies that they're requesting, how much it is, where the money is expected to come from, because I know.
That's when budgeting comes up.
I know that's during the budget process, because when you go through the books, you're looking at one department, but you're not, this way you can see the whole overall picture.
So, what'll happen is I'll project revenues, and that's all we have. So within those revenues, you're gonna have to fit personnel and operations.
Yeah.
Whatever that might be, we might have 10 million in operations, and there might be 15,000 that people want in personnel, but at some point, you're gonna have to cut.
And that's what I mean, if you
Yeah,
had the
you're
whole
gonna-
picture in front of you, so you
Yeah.
could say, okay, well,
And
they're
you'll get
asking for
that.
it here, they're
You'll
asking
have
for it
that.
here.
Well, she usually gives us a sheet and then with proposed,
Yes,
that comes over and then it shows the total amount that it will be towards the general budget, the general fund
I
budget.
think that's generally for each department as you go through it.
and
but
I'll have
it's-
it for each
It's
one.
not like a master sheet where you can see the overall picture of what's being asked for
So,
and how that would impact.
so what'll happen is, right now, we know general fund's pretty high. In the enterprise fund, so that would be like water,